Call the Dixon County Commission regular meeting to order for November 7th, 2024. Please stand for flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move we approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second it.
We move and second. Any other discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda, the minutes of the 31st of October meeting. Payroll of $397,233.32.
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Commission comments and committee reports. Ron?
No comments this morning.
Lynn?
This wasn't necessarily on behalf of the commission, but I attended Sunday there at the Navarre Building Community Center, and that's something that the county in North Central Kansas had been a part of, as well as a lot of community volunteers and Lions Club and so on. But it's a great facility to meet at, and they had the Talmadge Quartet there, and it's one of those small type gymnasiums that many of us can remember from years ago, but it was packed. But also they were kind of dedicating. They had the sound panels had been added as a memorial to Donna Riffle. But it was great to see so many people from the Navarre community come in for that particular event. Also, I did attend. We had a special meeting, actually, the Central Kansas Mental Health Board over at Salina. And so they're actually purchasing an additional building and are going to be hiring more clinicians and several people, and have great needs for that throughout Central Kansas, and we're one of 5 counties that's involved with that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. At our work session this morning, Tails Strunk was here from the Abilene Fire Department. He's chief. Their rescue trucks with the 2006 was bought with Homeland Security money. He was able to find one in Salina if we can get it. It's a 2008, but it's a lot more user friendly, so to speak. So we've given Janelle permission to go ahead and see if we can get this pot for, was it
49 is right now.
So we did have department head meetings, a little short on that. A lot of them are out on training and vacation. Presentations and proclamations. Elizabeth, I'll read it if you want to get up, and I'll read it and then you can tell what the Community Foundation does. Whereas the Community Foundation of Dixon County has steadfast pillar of generosity, innovation, and progress in our community for the past 25 years. And whereas we're thrilled to celebrate this incredible milestone, a quarter century of working hand in hand with our neighbors to grant over $14 million in scholarships and funding that ignites dreams, empowers local causes, and makes our community shine brighter for all. And whereas with the 25 million in assets, we're not just growing, we're thriving. Thanks to the trust and generosity of our donors and the collaboration of visionary leaders, local leaders, nonprofit businesses, we are building a stronger, more vibrant future together. And whereas rooted in the strength and resiliency of our rural community, the Community Foundation of Dixon County is cultivating the very best in us, fueling success for our small businesses, enriching education, nurturing the arts, and advancing healthcare, and creating opportunities for everyone to thrive. And whereas the impact of our Community Foundation is felt very in every corner of Dixon County, from our downtown and main streets to quiet country roads. Whereas where hope, generosity, and creativity flourishes, shaping a bright future for generations to come. And whereas every grant awarded and scholarship given isn't just a number, it's a story of dreams realized, ideas nurtured, lives changed, all carried forward for good forever. Now, therefore, we, the Dixon County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim November 12th to the 18th of November 2024 as Community Foundation Week in Dixon County. Let us celebrate the power of community through the strengths of generosity and the promise of a brighter tomorrow for us all. Elizabeth.
Thank you all for coming out to celebrate Community Foundation Week. I'm thrilled. Great. I really don't have a lot to say. Just want to say thank you that you will announce this proclamation. And again, for those that maybe are not in attendance, we are Dickinson County's Community Foundation. And the money that is garnered here in Dickinson County, that it stays here in Dickinson County, and it does great work in Dickinson County. And Lynn, thank you for talking about the Navarre building. The Community Foundation, a couple of years ago, it was imperative that the roof needed to be fixed down there as it was leaking. And normally we don't grant for improvements to buildings, but we knew how important that building was to Navarre and to the community. So we granted for a roof. We've also been involved in that organization down there to even with the rebuild and the updating, we were involved with that. But they had put this roof on with the expectation that it was going to last for quite a few years. And unbeknownst to the people that signed the agreement, the company that did the roof did not do a great job on the roof. And they came back and said, you know, we're very sorry, but here we are again. And again, the Community Foundation understood the importance of that building in Navarre, and we granted one more time for a roof. So you will look all over Dickinson County, and it's thank you that what you have done, and we are here because of the generosity of people just like you. So if you're looking for a legacy, don't know what to do with your money once you're gone, the Community Foundation can certainly help you with that. But as you go back to your respective communities, we have funds in every community in Dickinson County. If you don't need another birthday gift, you don't need a Christmas present, think about giving to your community funds in your community as it comes back to you for good forever, for good things. So that's really all I have.
Lots of scholarships on that also.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. We do scholarships. So you have kids and grandkids that are getting ready to graduate this year or are in college already. Our scholarship season opens in December. It's open for 8 weeks. They can apply online. We want to get those kids graduated and off. But we also, while I have a captive audience, we also have a scholarship. So if you know of anybody that is moving back to Dickinson County, before they come back and they have student debt, have them contact the Community Foundation. We are granting for people to come back and are excusing $10,000 worth of their student debt. We're paying that. So it's a great opportunity to try to get some of our kids that were scholarshiped off to college to come back to Dickinson County. So that's it. Anything, also the board president is here. AJ, do you want to say anything?
No, I think that was all. I'm glad everybody's here.
A picture. We just.
Yes, the board members.
Yes, Tony Geiger is here. He is a board member, and AJ, and our program director, Veronica Murray, and our office manager, Sarah Geiger. So, yeah, Sarah, how did I say? Well, she's sitting next to Tony Geiger, whose wife is Sarah. Sorry, Sarah. Just go home and tell your other Sarah I didn't marry you off.
Yep.
So, yeah, if we could just.
Some of your members are hiding in the back. We could have them come up front for a vote.
Yes, please do. Yes, I don't know who else is here besides AJ. I can't hear it. Okay.
And the biggest thing is that there's some seats when you leave.
Yeah. Some will be leaving. I'm staying, but some will be leaving. So, yeah.
Do you want me to take the picture? Do you want me to take the picture so you can be in it?
Probably want to be up there now.
That's what over. Pose first and then do the hand.
I thought you were going.
You guys, this is your gig.
Try one from this angle just to make sure
Why hang on?
the professionals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So there's two more open seats and a couple over here.
We're going to change up a little bit. We're going to go through our report of county officers. We have a public hearing, 11:15 for a bridge at 1100 and Union Road. So Janelle, if you want to read just the comments, we'll read the.
Can do.
Yeah.
Commissioners, the appraiser is working on final review. As you know, that is part of the annual process to review 17% of the county each year, and they're completing that. The paint striper should be here this week. Today, actually, Martin's telling me, so which is good. So they'll get the paint striping done there at the corner of 14th and Van Buren there to get that completed. And like we've talked before, clearing out those trees there helped tremendously. And then adding the paint striping will help too. So they should be done today, which is good. The highway department is hauling gravel and blading roads. The moisture that we've had helps a lot. So they're out there working that to make sure that they're safe. And just as a reminder, all county offices will be closed on Monday, November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. So we do thank all of the veterans, county employee veterans, and all the veterans in Dickinson County for their service. So that's all I would have.
Thank you, Janelle. Any questions for Janelle? County Councilor Doug? Yep.
Thank you. I'm a county counselor, and one of the jobs that I have is what we're coming up to later in this year. I hope it'll be before the year ends, is going to be a tax sale for individuals who have chosen not to pay taxes on their real estate. Then there's a foreclosure action that takes place that the county moves forward. And if they haven't paid their taxes and don't get them paid by the time that matter comes up before the court, then their property can be lost. And so we're going to try and get that done before the end of this year. And if not, it'll be early in the next year. But I want to try and get it done because all the rest of us who are paying taxes kind of feel like everybody else ought to be paying theirs too. So that's all I've got for right now. Thank you.
Any questions for Doug? Jeannie, a quick recap on the election.
Yes, we had 65% turnout. There was 8,085 voters. This is the unofficial results until the canvass, which is held on November 14th at 12:30 here in the commissioner room. And that's about it. We're holding our audit, right? We held our audit this morning, so.
Could go for another minute, couldn't you?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and consider the,
Notice of information, so I'll just
okay.
hit on that. Got a letter here from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. City of Abilene has a notice that their discharge into the Mud Creek has been approved. And there is 40 or 50 emails I've gotten. I'm not going to go through all of them on the wind farm issue. So we do have those and they will be in our file. I give a copy to all of them to our other two commissioners, and Janelle will give them to Tim to put them in there. So anything else we can do for 30 seconds?
You want to designate your delegates for the KAC annual conference, the voting delegates?
I'll nominate Lynn.
So probably need to do.
I'll be the
Dice for like a second.
I'll second. I'll be the alternate.
Okay, and then you could have a third one if you so choose.
You know,
Okay.
And Craig and Janelle.
all in favor of that? Oh, it hadn't been seconded.
I was,
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
You can approve the contract for police services in Solomon or the air compressor.
No, let's
Just wait.
Just wait.
Okay.
Can't be more than 10 seconds left.
Okay.
Public hearing for the bridge closure. I don't want to say closure, that's not the way I want it. The bridge at 1100 and Union Road, public hearing. People that would like to make comments, put your name and address, and you need to be within, I've gotten a letter, comment on it. So,
Do you want a little history on this?
yeah,
Ford?
yeah, I'll tell you what, one of the histories,
Okay.
we got some pictures that we've gotten of what it was like before and what it is now.
Yes. Okay, bear with me because, so this is the area, obviously, that. Oops. Too far to know. Bridge is right here. And couple, why didn't it pop up? Oh, I'm not sure why it's not popping up like I want it to.
I think you could identify though, the road that it's on, you're on that road and the situation that's led us to where we're at now on the bridge.
So we were contacted in the month of June of this year and Martin requested our county engineer go inspect a recent fire damage to this reinforced concrete hot slab bridge at 2325 1100 Avenue, which is over Lion Creek. So it's a 48-year-old bridge and it had extreme fire damage to it. The way that this bridge is built or is structured, it's a haunch slab, so the piers are floating essentially, and the concrete is reinforced with tied rebar all through it. And the way that the fire was, the heavy accelerant that was used on it, it was an extremely hot fire. In fact, the bridge was still very hot several days afterwards. You couldn't touch it because of that. And due to that design of this bridge, this is deemed unsafe. It is structurally unsound. So it's not one that we could open with a lower weight limit. It's not one that we could replace right away, unfortunately, as well. So what this process today for you is to close this particular bridge. That's it. It's just this bridge. It does not mean that you would not be able to rebuild that bridge in the future. So as you know, there are bridges that are listed on the Kansas Department or KDOT's bridge inspection report. This bridge will come off of that with the closure, but it does not mean that we would not replace it with another bridge. It'll just be identified a different way. So Martin is here as well if you have any questions for him as our road and bridge supervisor.
And you might mention the fact is that it'll all be, the cost will all be on us, there'll be no costs.
Yes. So the cost were right now, today's prices would be 1.2 to $1.3 million. This would all be borne by tax dollars. There's no programs that this bridge would fit the requirements for, not the cost share program or the Kansas VIP program either. It's not. So it's a pretty costly bridge right now. It's 224 feet in length. So it's a large bridge, and coming back with another structure, different type of structure, is going to be difficult too. It couldn't be a low water crossing. That would be even more expensive than the $1.3 million. So.
And we have gained access to the landowners that are there.
We have, yes. So part of the, if you can look here, there's a home on this side of the bridge, and then the next one is here on the other side. Their access is there, but we worked with the township and improved Vane Road so we could go and direct traffic down to 1000 Avenue.
So since an accelerant was used for that, it becomes pretty apparent that it was intentionally set on fire by someone to try to remove debris underneath.
And trash. People had been dumping trash down there as well, is what it looks like. And we did open an investigation with the sheriff's office and have no results, unfortunately. No one was willing to come forward and let us know what had happened. So
And Janelle, from my understanding is because it wasn't an act of nature,
Correct.
tornado or earthquake or whatever, there's no cause for its damage other than when we know it's been
Right.
caught on fire.
Right.
The funding to fund that bridge is pretty hard to get, right?
It's just tax dollars is what it would be.
It'd be
County tax dollars.
Tax on the taxpayers.
Yes. Yeah. Did you have any questions for Martin? I see that now.
Biggest thing I've got to say about it is that there is no funding mechanism. And on $1.5 million bridge, we would normally be getting 80% of that funded through another source. So it's a very difficult bridge that will take a lot of years of planning to save that kind of money to build that bridge. You know, like, you see big bridges being done, but you got to remember, we may be paying $100,000 to $300,000 for a big bridge to be replaced like that. So it just, that kind of money in my budget just doesn't come along, and we have multiple projects already because it takes 1 to 3 years possibly to get a bridge done. So we've already started multiple other projects. So it won't be able to shoot to the top of the list, so to speak. If we work it out in sort of plans to get it in a set of plans, it would still be multiple years down the road for us.
Because the projects that we've got in the works, the funding's already been allocated for them. So that's earmarked and we can't change that right now.
Okay, then Martin, would you elaborate a little bit about the brush underneath it?
Okay, on the brush and the buildup of the debris, because it's been there, and anybody that knows the standard, we have removed it every couple, 3 years over and over. I paid contractors to remove it. We've removed it a couple times ourselves. And on a harsh rain, Lions Creek, it was going to plug that bridge up. Admittedly, maybe it wasn't the best design in 1970 when they designed it, and it caught the debris. And I know that bothers people, but it's still, I just can't run down there and remove it. I don't even have the equipment to remove that debris. I have to set a contract, get bids, and get people to get it done.
Because we can't safely sit on the bridge and pick the debris up because it's unsafe. So
And I don't have a crane or a clamshell anymore. We don't have crane operators now, so we don't have a crane. So, yeah, so it's still a lot of work. And in all honesty, nobody had actually called me. I know if they said, well, they knew about the debris. Actually, no township or local had called me and said that it was blocked up. And our bridge inspectors would have caught it. And they come every other year. So that's usually when I get told and get a report in the bridge inspection, you need to get down and this debris needs removed.
So that would be an ask of the public. If you do see debris piled up, please let us know. I mean, with over 300 bridges and 1,200 structures, it's hard for us to get around the county and get eyes on every single one of them regularly.
It'd be a full-time job to drive and look at them every week.
That doesn't include the township structures.
Yeah.
So
What was the life expectancy of that bridge?
It should have been about 65, 70 years. Okay, so we
cut it by 20.
cut it by about 25 years. We cut the life of that bridge by that pile of debris being set on fire. And basically right there is by doing something and damaging a bridge just throws everything and planning and all that out of whack. We inspect them every other year. We set a plan. We know where they rate. You just can't happen overnight. Y'all doing your own business and own life, you just can't take care of it like that. So, but in this resolution, the bridge needs to come down because I know KDOT's ideas, I'm still got to pay every inspection cycle for them to tell me that bridge is bad because it's still standing there. And what I would like to see happen is get it knocked down, get it out of the break, and I know it, and we'll barricade it off until the day comes that a bridge can be built back across there.
But the bottom line is an unsafe structure that it's a liability that we cannot afford.
And also somebody mentioned low water crossing. The reason a low water crossing would be so expensive is because that's Shiner minnow territory. Okay, so you don't get to put the old style where you can lay it down there. It would have to hit just almost as many design qualifications as a bridge up high. Because you'd have to allow the fish to swim and be under it and then still put it up. So you really wouldn't get a low water crossing. You'd get a crossing, water would go over, but it would still be high enough to probably catch that debris. You know, it wouldn't be like the old one where the bridge or the low water crossing was at the top of the water. You can't design it like that anymore in Shiner territory, so.
Do you have any further questions for us?
Well, we probably need to hear public comments still, and I have a few things I'd like to go back to.
Anybody here from the public would like to address the commission? Yes, sir. Please step up to the podium. You did receive a letter? Yes, sir. Okay. You have 3 minutes and I'll give you a warning and you got 30 seconds left.
And if you'd state your name, please.
Thomas Blake, 2277 1100 Avenue. I farmed the ground on both sides of that bridge on the north. First of all, you was wrong on your date. It didn't happen this year, June. It happened last year, June. And I've been having to go around the whole section to farm the ground east of the bridge. When the inspectors came, I was actually in wheat harvest. I saw them inspecting. I finished the one field I was at. My next field was the other side of the bridge. So I drove all my equipment, including a halfway loaded semi and a combine, over the bridge that night. The next day, when I went over, is when they had it blocked off. They said, no, you got to go around. So, and I walked across the bridge and it was not hot. I leaned over and looked at the fire damage. It was not hot. So I'm saying your facts are wrong. But my biggest concern is me going down south to 1000 Avenue. There's an S curve in there, and I hope the lady that almost had an accident with me is here. I was going around the S curves with the drill, 15.5 feet wide. She came around that curve. I didn't even see her. I had to shoot off almost into a cornfield to avoid the accident. If I would have been going the other direction, I would have had to go into the creek to avoid her hitting me. How much is a life worth? A lot's worth a whole lot more than $1 million to me. An accident's going to happen there sometime because that S curve is not straight. That road is not safe enough to be taking the wide equipment and having the cars come through there. So that's my point.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir, please. Oh, I got 2 of you there.
Mike Truskowski, 2400 1400 Avenue. Same thing. I farm right northeast of the bridge, right by Thomas, and it makes me go around on Highway 77, and 77 is pretty dangerous. There's a lot of idiots that don't pay attention. Like, I got my flashers on, and almost every time I turn left, there's somebody there. You got to drive for yourself and drive for them. And I've heard of other deadly accidents on Highway 77. And then the other thing is just what Thomas said. It puts all the traffic on 1000 Avenue where there's that blind curve, and it's just a lot more traffic beating each other on that blind curve. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Sir?
Matt Rowe, 2310 1100. So if you had your map back up, I own that whole quarter that runs the whole mile along there because it is a two section 80. So this bridge splits my land in half terribly. It's my house. Yeah, I have the whole north half of that half section. And with the bridge closed, I now have to go 3 miles around just to get to a field that is literally 20 yards from the bridge. My tenants don't appreciate that either. I don't farm it myself. They farm it and they don't like that. And it's just, it's a very big inconvenience. And I feel like if we are going to close the bridge, I will be fighting my property taxes because that is a huge devaluation of my land, I feel. Why should I have to drive 3 miles around just to get 20 yards? It severely hurts our community because like everybody else has said, Thousand Avenue, that curve is bad. And the creek is washing away the north side of the road there. I don't know if you guys looked at it lately, but I guess instead of a bridge inspector, we need to have a road inspector go look at that because that road is getting washed down into the creek. And there has to be some kind of answer to this besides permanent closure and years of not having a bridge because, well, 1,000 will be your next one because its bridge isn't much newer. And it's just that this is bad news for our little community there. It affects everybody on that road because 1,000 Avenue is not safe. Highway 77, not safe. And well, it splits my land. So I don't really have much else to say other than if we close it, I'll see you at tax time because I'm not going to pay the property taxes on land that's being devalued by having to drive 3 miles around the road. So that's about all I have to say. I did email a letter from me and
Got them right.
and from my tenant. So I'd like you guys to read those. There's more concerns in there. So that's all I have to say.
Highlight them. I may not read them all.
Okay. Yep.
So I got 4 of them here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Vernon Weber, 2238 1000 Avenue. I'm on the township board. I guess some of this is our fault, maybe. I don't know. Because I was down there in that bridge with Jim Fells standing, in hip deep water, cutting wood out of there one time because we were informed that it was our responsibility. I've got a couple questions for Martin. One is who's going to pay for the demolishing of the bridge?
The county.
County would.
The county. So that money has been allocated already.
Well,
no.
it hasn't yet, but yeah.
Okay. And then my
You
second,
know that we talk about your responsibility in the statutes when we build a bridge on a township road. At that point, once it's done, the township is responsible for the road right up to the edge of the bridge, and it also is responsible for the channel. Now, over the years, on bigger projects, we have stepped up and helped and removed that debris before because the township didn't have enough money to handle it. But in statute land, in the rules, the debris is the township's problem on a township road. I mean, you call us and we've tried to help, but that is very true. Yeah, it is.
I know it had been,
The ditches,
it had been burnt before
yes, it'd been lit one other time.
one other time and we were down there cutting logs out and
Yes,
everything.
I remember.
I lost
I
my.
hired a contractor. They were working in Gary County, come over one year for us and pulled it all out of there. A few years.
You mentioned the list, the bridges. Is this on the list then?
Yes.
Well,
Okay,
it's now, it's damaged. Okay,
Right.
yes.
And so what kind of time frame are we talking?
To be replaced?
Yes.
Like we said, we've got a plan for this. $1.3 million. We don't have that in the bank to.
Right, I know that.
So,
I think he's talking about it.
Down the
25 to
road.
35 years.
Yeah.
right, I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to move it up the list.
We can't move it up the list. There's no funding that would be available through KDOT to put towards this bridge. It would be all on the taxpayers to pay for.
Okay, so the list that you currently have gets funding from other,
Sources. We apply for other funding.
Yes.
okay. So have you applied for funding for this?
You can't, there's no funding category
No,
for this.
because it wasn't a natural disaster. It was deliberately set. So it was damaged that way.
How you
Okay, but the other-
how you get on the funding list. There's a way, as it's inspected every other year, then the inspection said 10's perfect. Well, it has to get down below a 4 in different categories for it to even be eligible for federal or state funding. So as the bridge would have got older, the deck would have started getting a lower and lower rating, the underneath, the erosion control, whatever the part may be. But that's how they get eligible for funding, is how bad the inspections show they are.
Okay.
We can't go out and pick a bridge and say we want to do it. It has to hit their category of rules for us to ask for funding.
I think Craig's got a comment.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment and stuff. And, but, your 3 minutes is up and you shouldn't, but no. Good questions are asked. A lot of people don't realize we've got, I think, 10 bridges that will get federal funding or state funding for to replace them. That's tough. I think we just got it here 3 or 4 months ago. So this isn't even in our bridge inventory. I shouldn't say bridge inventory to be replaced.
So will it become number 11?
Right. No.
You said there's 10 bridges.
Well,
Will it become number 11?
We can't make that determination yet.
Yeah. So we haven't made that determination. We have to have a bridge inspection. And it depends on if this road gets more use than that road. It wouldn't be as high as, I'm going to use Mud Creek Bridge or Key Bridge.
We've got 3 bridge projects in the southern part of the county on Rain and 500 Avenue that are going to be replaced. And those rose to the top.
And you cannot switch bridge.
We don't have them. We prioritize switching them. It's
right.
We have the money to do it because they're already funded partially by the federal government, state, and the county. So, but this here will be funded all by the taxpayers.
Yeah. So instead of spending.
I know that. I understand that.
It's on its own.
So the feds would give the guidelines, and if it qualified, they would say.
Then it would be on the list. Then it would be on the list when the feds come through.
This doesn't fall under the qualification.
And what kind of timetable? You said you have 10 other bridges. What kind of timetable are you talking about that?
So really, we have 300 bridges in this county that we are responsible for. So those are the 10 that we've identified.
They're on the list.
Yes.
Okay, what kind of timetable are you talking about, those 10 bridges?
7 to 10 years.
7 to 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can look for maybe 11 to 15 possibly having that bridge replaced then?
I wouldn't want to say.
We can't commit the commissioners in that far in the future.
We could have some of the discussion.
I think all 3 commissioners should be committed. No, just kidding.
Okay, I'll let you deal with them on that.
No, I'm just kidding. So,
I think we need to get through our public comment.
Okay.
And get.
I'll sit down.
And we can talk more.
Yes, I am.
Sure, we can talk more later too.
Okay, no problem.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Road there, 1168 Union Road. We own around 11-15-4 ground on both sides of that creek. I want to ask how many of you have ridden on that road south, 1 mile south? Have you been on that road?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you been in a combine or rode on that road? Well, you ought to. You ought to find out what it's like. Try going out on that 77 when there's a basketball game or football game. Cars are driving down there 70 miles an hour, passing each other, try to beat the other one down there. You try to get on that road. You don't have any idea what goes on out there. I got the feeling that we're the deplorables and the garbage. You can build bridges up north here, a bridge for one person. There's 5 people that lives on, 6 people that lives on that road. You better get your heads in order and find out what's going on down there. You don't give a damn what's going on down south at Abilene. It's everything for Abilene.
Yes, sir.
Brad Warnicott, 2363 1100 Avenue. The first house on the east side of the bridge. And there's lots of times in the wintertime, we can't even leave our house and go over to 77. Road drifts so bad. We got lots of elderly people that live on our roads, so in wintertime, the ambulance can't get down the road. You know, it's just, so what? We couldn't put a bridge in. And we thank you guys for rocking our road down there, but did a hell of a lot of good when the water washed it out. There was 3 months I had to haul buckets of rock down there just to get my damn pickup through there to go to work. Because the township never even bladed it again. Till about 2 or 3 weeks ago after we called them. And I agree with everything Rose said too. You know, you guys don't give a shit. You don't go down that road. If you did, it'd be a lot different.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I forgot. It was told there was trash underneath that bridge. And an 80-year-old man went down there and cut that out. And you're just as much blamed for that bridge being destroyed as the one that set the fire. If you'd got that trash out of it, that never would have happened. Don't blame us. We're paying taxes. It's up to you to get it fixed.
Any other comments? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Lynn, any comments you'd like to make?
There's probably a couple of things to discuss. One of the things we've talked about, some of the federal funding involved, and I know Martin had mentioned that the Topeka Shiner is in that particular area. On the Parks and Wildlife and the funding we get for that, is there any part of that that could be used in comparison to the typical federal funds?
I would say no, because it was not a blocked, the channel wasn't restricted for minnows before. Most of our funding we get from them is to replace something that was blocking the way of the minnow. You know, whether it was a culvert or a low water crossing and the minnows couldn't get through. They usually do not want to fund something that already allows what they're looking for. So,
because
I mean, if we can always ask at them, but I would say no, it's not.
I was going to say we could always apply and see if we would get turned down or be successful at it. I do want to make a couple of comments as far as the work that we do on the roads and bridges, and we can show you information if someone wants to see specific on that. And there is much work done in various parts of the county. So it's not just isolated to one area. And I can kind of recall kidding Commissioner Laverne Myers about how much road work he happened to get down in his particular, not his area specific, but the south part of the county. And it was, but beyond kind of kidding about it, it was serious that we do try to have that distributed throughout the county to match also the needs of the county. One of the things, and I think maybe we should visit with the sheriff first to see how effective it would be. But there has been some discussion if we should put any type of reward out there for information and the conviction of the person that intentionally set the fire. Because was the fire even called in once it started?
Checked with the fire department.
And so you know, I think that's a consideration. I mean, maybe that person's would have some insurance or some financial responsibility on that, but that is something that it's not the same to say someone maybe should have done something before and compare that to someone intentionally setting a fire and causing damage. So
That fire was set in the middle of the night, so there's no way nobody knew anything was going on until.
Okay.
The public comments are.
It's a public comment.
And maybe, yeah, but anyway, I still think maybe if that helps from an investigative standpoint, it's worth looking into.
Anything else?
No, that's all I have for right now.
Ron?
No.
I will mention, I did get 3 letters here. I'm not gonna, brevity time, I got one from Matt Rowe. The Key Kafers, Mark and Mark Kafer. Got another letter from Mark Rowe, and then Phyllis Fells. I got a letter from her here, the what's going to file. I will say that the resolution, if we do pass it, it's just declaring the bridge unsafe and closing it and probably thinking out. It's not going to be, future commission, in my opinion, wants to spend the money to rebuild that bridge. It can happen. So. Any other discussion?
Just along that thought, and I would direct this more to finance. But since something like that is not in the budget, and typically the county only pays 20%, where this would be the full load, what type of tax increase would take place to offset something like that, as far as a mill levy and what that would mean as an option? And regardless, it seems like even a potential fix
So
would be 2 or 3 years out.
when we're looking at like the current 2025 budget, for instance, if we had, and of course that budget's finalized and set already and been adopted. So the earliest this could be addressed if you were to add that amount to a future budget would be the 2026 budget. But at this time in 2025, had we added, say, $1.5 million in expenditures to the 2025 budget, that would be about 5.5 mills at about $273,000 per mill. And how that would affect a residential property, currently the median residential property is about $175,000. So for anyone who would own a $175,000 home in the entire county, that would increase their property tax bill by about $110. For a commercial property, you'd be looking closer to about $240 on 175,000. Obviously, depending on the value of your property, that's going to fluctuate. So you pay more or less depending on how much your property were to cost. That would be affecting. That's how decisions like this. It doesn't come easy for the commission or staff, because it truly does affect everyone in the county, all property owners. And so when we add $1.5 million to the budget, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. We have to actually find those funds somewhere. And unfortunately, property tax a lot of times is the only way to take on things like this that were unplanned. And so, like I said, that would be a significant burden to a lot of the property owners in the county. So it's just something that we have to think about.
And I do agree with what Commissioner Chamberlain mentioned, that the parameters of this has to do with a closure for right now, but looking at what solution or any change, that's going to have to be discussed and factored into a budget. And I guess the only other portion, which you can only go to this well so many times, is if we dipped into reserves. And then that has ramifications on how many dollars of reserves should we carry.
Yes.
And so that's something you just can't replicate, and year after year, pull $1 million or $1.5 million out of reserves. It's not being financially responsible, in my opinion. So
I'd like to say a couple things, Janelle. The resolution that's going to be asked today is a resolution to remove this bridge and potentially leave that opening there so we could put a bridge in. So it's not completely closing it. We wouldn't want it closed because frankly, we would not be able to put a bridge in ever. So it's going to be left to the position where we can put a bridge in. And so I'm going to vote on that resolution as yes. We want the bridge cleaned up. That allow that debris to wash out, save the embankment along the side, be a lot of dirt blowing away, moving away. And that's pretty important to get that debris out of there. The other thing I've had a discussion with the commission for many years is it's interesting how years ago, our township roads and our little creek crossings and bridges were taken well care of. Today, we seem to handle lots and lots more money, but we seem to not be able to do as much. And it's kind of depressing because I watch you guys cross these creek crossings with your tractors and your trucks and your combines. And frankly, it's downright dangerous. But you're bringing commerce to our cities, your goods and services, so we all can benefit. But there's not money put back out there in these little crossings that mean less to people in the cities, but it's detrimental to the producers out there. We see Main Street looking pretty and I love it, but there's a lot of hard work that's going on in the rural areas and these crossings that aren't passable anymore. We need to get more funding to the townships to help the townships outwork this, because I realize these are township crossings and roads. I realize the bridges go to the county and we're responsible for those bridges. And as the other commissioners indicated, try to find the funding for that's just, my goodness, it's crazy. So, and you can see what I'm thinking of, how it's so darn complicated, how years ago we built beautiful buildings in our town, had crossings and bridges, and now we're not able to do that. So where have we gone wrong? And that's all I've got to say.
I make a motion to approve resolution 110724, resolution closing the bridge. The above entitled matter comes before the county commissioners of Dixon County for the closure of certain county bridge structure at 2325 1100 Avenue in Dixon County. Whereas the Board of Commissioners, having heard testimony and having reviewed paper filed wherein find that legal notice has been given to the public by publication as required by law, and the public hearing was held in such a manner which time concerned current patrons and persons had the opportunity to speak on the issue. First, it would be granted the pursuant of KAS 68-1126. Therefore, I ordered the County Board of County Commissioners and that the following described bridge be closed: 2325 1100 Avenue over Line Street. Any easements for egress for utility are preserved and shall be preserved. I have a second to that motion.
I'll second it.
Been moved and second. Any other discussion?
Now, along with the closure, Martin, you had mentioned that also it's removal.
How long is that? I didn't.
On the removal of debris and the bridge and so on.
Once you put this, we will ask for a bid and get it out. I think we'll have a chance of getting a low bid because we're bidding 3 bridges out down there as a package. And I would like to hope to get that local contractor that's coming into work there to maybe just pick up and knock that bridge out and clean that out while he's in the area. So we can keep the money down on it. But Ron hit the biggest thing. The debris is not going to stop at this point. The bridge is bad. We need to pull the pillars out of there and let that channel open up and run free. And that way, the debris won't have nothing to collect against up until. And in the future, the new design, I'm surely assured you would not have a pier in the middle of the channel, when and if it gets built. So.
Any other discussion? I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Public comments.
Public comment, yeah. This time, any public comments on any other issue that's not before the commission today, please come forward and you'll have 33 minutes, 33 minutes, and I'll give you a notification in 30 seconds.
You want her reading?
If you want to read the.
I will, yes. For the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318. A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During their regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. State your name and address, please. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Anybody want to come forward? I think it's not on the agenda.
I'll get it started. My name's Carol Rock. I live at 1740 1600 Avenue, Chapman, Kansas. I'm here today again to show support for the Hope Ridge Wind Project. I'm a landowner and a leaseholder. I heard a statement recently that Elon Musk said. It was, "The future belongs to technology and innovation." This got me to thinking about our wind project that is proposed. This is technology and innovation, but the best thing is that it's proven technology and innovation. There are many wind projects in Kansas that are already up and running, with Diamond Vista in Tampa very close. So you, as the commissioners, can see the results, talk to the people that live by them, and see how they really work and the benefit it has been for the community. Where would we be without technology and innovation? We would still be farming with horses and wagons. There'd be no vehicles to take us to wherever we want to go. We would have to use smoke signals to talk to our friends and neighbors. There'd be no trains to transport our crops across the country. There'd be no electricity or water pumping into our houses. Outhouses would be all we would have. We would have no idea that the earth was really looked like because it would only look flat as far as we could see. We have come a long way from this way of life. Some of us grew up living with some of these things that were previously mentioned. We have seen what technology and innovation can do for our way of life. Now we have lights 24 hours a day, indoor plumbing, many options for transportation, cars, trains, planes, and shuttles that can take us into space. We now have phones we carry in our pockets, the internet, streaming. Life is so much better because we embrace new technology and innovation. We as consumers will always be needing more and more energy in our lives. Making electricity from wind is one way we continue to make sure that we do have all the energy we need. So I ask you, county commissioners, to think about progress, about how this project will benefit the whole county. Look at the whole picture. Look at the factual statements that are out there. Stand up for technology and innovation. The future is ours. Think about the future of the county. How could this help all the schools, lower taxes, and many other things? There are many new and exciting things that the industry is doing to recycle the wind turbines at the end of their lives. They're learning new ways to repurpose the blades. Much of the rest of the turbine is recyclable, and many times they're able to repower the wind turbines to extend their lives. Technology is constantly changing. We cannot stop and be left in the good old days. I've attached some papers to the letter I gave you that you can read about studies that have been done on the conditions that have been brought to your attention in trying to get this project stopped. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Murphy, 1346 Clark Road in Hope. And just as we had heard about the bridge closures needing additional funding, this $668,000 that Nell has proposed to help the county, it would amount to about 2.5 mils for your budget. I know this is not a popular idea, I guess I want to say, but still with increase in costs and everything, we need to look for somewhere to future fund these things. This would be based on your property taxes.
these mill levies would go. And it's not divided individually to people equally. It's on the property owners themselves. I'm currently on the Logan Township Board. The proposed route would affect about 10 miles that they would improve rebuilding, or not necessarily rebuilding, but improving the conditions of the road, I guess I want to say. And this would be at no cost to the township. We received a letter from Ham Quarries over in Woodbine that in January of 2025, they're going to increase the cost of the rock 10%. On our budget for the township, this rock amounts to about 50% of our budget. So there's another 10% increase for our budget. Have the Keystone pipeline runs through our township. We've noticed that a substantial amount of funding through that, through the tax base from the pipeline itself. And this wind farm would benefit us in the same way. And for these reasons, that's why we propose that we approve this. Thank you.
Kevin. Anyone else?
Dale Anders at 2178 2000 Avenue. Graduate in Ag Econ from K-State and in the financial industry. I'd like to thank the commissioners for giving us the opportunity to discuss this as neighbors. I'm here to support the 2-year moratorium on the wind farm and could be easily persuaded to have a complete ban on. 2-year moratorium was supported by a 6-1 vote from the county zoning board. A tremendous amount of outpouring to the community support of banning the project totally is in hand. Your vote to ban the wind farms wouldn't be the first in the state, as other county commissioners have questioned if these are good for their communities. It appears that wind farms that are built in less populated areas. It also appears a growing number of American government entities are rejecting wind farms for various reasons. We've heard about the negative effects of wind farms on environment, landscape, historical homes, and ag lands. These are all debatable. I'd like to dwell down and focus more on who we're partnering up with and the long-term effects of Dixon County. I've done extensive research. I know NL's first priority is their profits. I'm not sure if they're looking out for us in particular. When the zoning board asked Intel the cost of decommissioning these towers, they said, we don't know, we're just in the role of the developer. And that's kind of concerning. And I've sent you folks some paperwork on the Oklahoma just to our south where they built some wind farms on their property. And the judge ordered them to decommission, and that cost us $300 million. And it was a costly mistake. That equates to about $3.5 million per tower. Now, I don't know if this is what we need to ask for from the company in form of a bond, or taxpayers are going to pay that eventually, or how that's going to look. I also challenge you to look at the company. They're highly leveraged, and you can look at it on their website. They've also had a power struggle on who's going to be on their board of directors, as the country of Italy owns about 25%, and it made the news. Their bonds went from an A rating down to a B rating, which is concerning.
25.
Okay. Like I say, I would challenge you to look at what I've sent you, some of the lawsuits that are against them. I'm not sure if this is who we want to do partners with for long term. I'm not sure if it's good for Dixon County. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir.
Mike Truskowski, 2400 1400 Avenue. Comment on the taking the old bridge out is okay.
Not the old bridge, that's done with. This is on wind farms.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Other things not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to- Yes, sir.
Kim Garacki, 5733 Granigan Point, Manhattan, Kansas. I want to talk about, I had 4 kids that we raised in the Hope area. They all went off to college. When they got out of college, there really was no prospect. Our farm wasn't big enough for them to come home and take over at that time with us. It wouldn't support 2 families. The wind farm is offering 15 permanent jobs. Maybe if those had been available, they might have come back and worked there. Other things I've heard, we decided to move because our kids were all in Manhattan and we decided to move closer to them. So we had a nice house for sale in Hope. We put it up for sale. From our front porch, you could see 50 windmills. We sold our house to the first people that looked at it, got more than our asking price, so I don't think it hurt our values very much. The lease that we signed with Enel, I took it to my attorney, who is an old high school friend, lives in Pratt, Kansas. He does hundreds of windmill leases, has read them. He said the lease that Enel offered us was one of the better for the landowners that he had ever seen. Was a little surprised at how good it was for the landowner. The other thing, a lot of people have said that they moved to our area to be out in the quiet. Why is their moving to our area, cutting our property rights to where we can't use our land to be the most beneficial to us and the neighborhood, because they want to sit in a quiet spot somewhere. If they want to go somewhere else, they move there. They can pick up and move again and find another quiet spot where maybe the wind doesn't blow. Now I have a son that is coming home to farm, that we've retired and moved away. He is going to come back and farm, and the wind lease, if he got to receive those funds or possibly got a windmill, the steady income would definitely help his prospects of being able to make it on the farm, because it's a little tough right now with prices and everything. I don't think he will do well. If he would do better with the windmills and the lease. That's all I can say. And if it doesn't work out for him, I'm pretty sure we will probably have to rent our farm, probably to someone from northern Marion County, because they seem to be doing okay down there.
30 seconds.
That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience? If not, anybody on the line? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kent Rock, 940 Large. Where I started, I'd like to piggyback on Kevin a little bit. I'm a officer of Ridge Township. And that Keystone pipeline that runs through that township, I checked it out when we had our budget meeting. That thing is valued at $3 million, and our total township is valuation of $9 million. Just that pipeline running through there. So what do you think the tax dollars are? It's incredible for something buried through this. So, you know, just the evaluation of those turbines would be much more than that, I'm sure. I've talked today about, I've talked to some people that work at Evergy and talked about the tremendous work they do to supply the energy in our state. I think we all know that the Obama administration mandated the phase out of the coal industry. So guess what they have to do? They have had to completely change the way they create electricity. They're already doing it, but within the next 15, 20, 30 years, they'll gradually phase into new electrical sources, which they're already doing. Just recently, they broke ground on 2 new 700 meg natural gas powered generators around in the Hutchinson area. They continue to increase the use of solar and wind. On a windy day, they talked to a Evergy employee that that day was supplying turbines. Wind farms are supplying 90% of the electricity Kansas was needing at that time. And on a normal day, between the wind and the solar panels, they'll provide 50 to 70% of electricity. And to date, he told me that, and that's more now, wind power has supplied 130 million megs of electricity Kansas needed. And he also said when the windy days occur, the coal and natural gas plants are idled to save money, or they're fired up, and the electricity that they produce is sold at a premium throughout the grid. And those dollars that they come back from those dollars or the electricity they send out paid back, guess what they do? They keep our rates low. And I think we all know about the increased demand for electricity. He talked about the number of for instance, AI companies they're going from state to state. And they're requiring hundreds of megs of power, and that power isn't available.
25 seconds.
So I just thought, we know what the turbines will do, but I think for instance, if we turn this quote unquote windfall down, this project, it will be built somewhere else. And a yes vote will grow this community, and a no vote will stunt this community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Hassler, 1202 Lark Road, Hope, Kansas. First of all, thank you all for taking the time to listen to this. I'm sure you've heard plenty of comments. My husband, Bill Hassler, and we own several hundred acres of ground in Dickinson County. I also have a sister and her husband who live in Missouri, and they also own several hundred acres of ground in Dickinson County. Also, my mom, Janet Johnson Riffle, and her husband, Gerald Riffle, they now live here in Abilene, but they own several hundred acres right here in Dickinson County. The other two couples, plus Bill and I, have hundreds of acres of ground that are involved in the Hope Ridge Wind Project. And all 6 of us are for the renewable energy and for the wind towers. This is our ground. None of the ground that Bill and I own was inherited. Every single day, I'm out there beside my husband working together on our farm, on our ground. We worked our tails off for years so that we can make our land payments. We bought and paid for our ground all by ourselves. We should be the ones to decide what happens on our ground. This ground that my husband and I own has been in his family for years, through several generations. We actually live in the house that my husband moved into with his parents when he was just 2 years old. He has lived in that same house for almost 60 years. When he was about 8 years old, there was a neighbor that had sheep, and he put up the first mercury light that we were aware of. That mercury light was to keep the coyotes away from his sheep. And at the time that he put up his mercury light, everyone was afraid of mercury. They were scared to death. They all said that mercury was going to kill you. Well, how many years have passed since that first mercury light was installed? Look around now. Nobody thinks twice about having a yard light on their property or seeing one on their neighbor's property. The majority of people that live in the country have mercury lights, and so far, we don't know a single person who has died from them. It will be the same for the wind towers in how many years? Nobody likes change, but if we're going to progress forward, change will have to take place. So please vote yes for this project and let Dickinson County continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience?
Joyce Lowe, 1077 Paint Road, Hope, Kansas. I believe in progress. I urge you to vote yes for this wind tower project. I have had Keystone Pipeline come through my property and lease land to them, along with fiber optic cable and electric power company. So I urge you to vote yes for this project for the good of the community, Hope, Woodbine, Navarre, and the whole county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Johnson, 1536 Snail Road. I think we're wasting a lot of you guys' time. All this stuff was said at the hearings in Harrington, Kansas. So I guess I don't blame you if you get tired of hearing all this. Evastrata, documentation here. I'm going to give each of you a copy. Talks about coal, natural gas, hydrogen, wind and solar. I'm not going to read the report as it's very lengthy, but I do hope you guys, as our elected officials, will take the time to review it. I think we all know the facts that wind energy is not efficient, it's not dependable, it's not cost effective, and it's definitely not green energy. But it seems to me a lot of people are ignoring these facts. The lure of easy money, which is funded by our tax dollars, seem to have blinded a lot of people. I think people are also ignoring the facts of this company, Enel, its financial woes. What is the harm in spending some time doing more research and seeing if they'll even be in business at the end of the year? I implore you to please take a hard look at the facts. Thank you.
Whitney Garacki, 1547 May Street, Navarre, Kansas. I just want to, I don't have anything written down, but I want to let you guys know that Trump is totally against wind turbines, talking about getting rid of them. And he will be our new president. Also, who wants China to come in and take our land? You know, the 30 by 30 deal, I've already discussed that with you guys. And that's what wind turbines and solars are all about. So just keep that in mind. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Barrett, 1608 900 Avenue in Hope. Hello again. Wind energy is the best way to make expensive electricity. It's been proven. This expensive electricity contributes to the overall inflation in our economy. Backups are needed when wind, like a flaky employee, doesn't work all the time. Idling our coal and natural gas plants is the most efficient way to operate and produce electricity. It's kind of like using an 18-wheeler to deliver mail all over the countryside. Residents are leaving Dickinson County due to this project, both landowners with contracts and non-participants. Why would people want to come back to live here? Even if we have the $10,000 student loan forgiveness available through Community Foundation, why are they coming back? Let's talk about some numbers of this project. We heard last week there are 250 contract holders or landowners. But what about the installed components within that CUP, the conditional use permit application? 77 turbines, 1 laydown yard, 1 substation. Of this, there are 64 landowners. At least 6 have died since they've signed, leaving no recourse for their heirs or new owners. Of the 64, 43 live in Dickinson County, 11 in Kansas, but outside of our county, and 11 live out of state. Only 18 landowners have a turbine in the same parcel in which they live. That's 72%. Of the 64 don't have a turbine in their backyard. Only 7% of the total contract holders have a turbine right there in the parcel where they live. Let's talk about some other numbers. 51 owners have 1 turbine, 8 have 2 each. 2 owners have 3 turbines each. 1 owner has 4 turbines each. They must really need some stability. 1 owner has a substation, 1 laydown yard. When you tally the turbines for certain family and their out-of-state landholders, they have at least 16 turbines, the substation and laydown yard among them. It sure seems like Enel is rewarding a narrow concentration of landowners for their loyalty. You've heard from some contract holders about their need for stability. That stability they sure want sounds like, you know, it's reminiscent of the USSR in 1920s. This is America. We have democracy and capitalism rules. Our election results from just this week showed a resounding defeat of the socialist agenda. In the USA, it's no risk, no reward, nothing's guaranteed. While you may have the right to do what you want on your property, sometimes what your plans are interferes with the rights of others, including myself. Mr. Tannehill with the road and bridge, you know, a damaged road or bridge has downstream consequences for years. That's absolutely true. We had a very difficult discussion on that today. My question, how much will the industrial traffic of this proposed project accelerate the aging of our rural infrastructure?
20 seconds.
A yearly pilot payment wouldn't even cover of the full amount of this 1100 Avenue Bridge? How many bridges and roads we have to close at the end of the project? Are you confident the tax credits will remain in our new administration? Without their tax credits, how will Enel be able to fulfill all of the monetary promises they're promising you as well as their contract holders? What about, like Mr. Peterson brought up, the insurance and financial responsibility of Enel and contracted landowners? If the worst case scenario happens, when the blade tears apart or there's a fire? Yes. I have a couple of articles for you and a couple of letters from folks who couldn't show up today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience?
Craig, I had.
Let's see if there's anybody on the line.
There is somebody on the line, so
Okay.
Dallas has a comment. Dallas, you'll have to unmute yourself and then you can speak.
Anybody else besides that? I'll just go ahead and land.
So
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
There we go. Just thinking about how ENEL is going to come through, and they're going to be doing a lot of road work to get our little gravel and dirt roads ready to bring heavy equipment and people in there. Once they leave any dirt roads that they have graveled or paved to get things, in position, the township will ultimately receive money and funds from the state that trickle down the entire time that we maintain those roads in the same condition that ENEL leaves them. So I think that will ultimately leave some residual money that the county can use for different projects just from having the roads paved on ENL's dime the first time. I don't really, farmers, we want to, we always want to farm a little more or get another section or get another piece of ground that you can try to make a little money on. And I think that looking at these wind turbines that I have just south of me, I can, if I was down there and I had a piece of ground paid for, once maybe you got a turbine, I think the next thing you do is you look for the next piece of ground to buy, and they will be able to outbid me on any future ground that comes up in my area. And not saying that we always just wanting more is the best thing, but that never hurt to just try to farm a little more. The good farmers are blessed with having a little more equipment and things like that we can get a little higher yields at times, and that ultimately benefits the entire world and the county for sure. So I think the wind project is a good idea to go vote for, and if we don't take advantage of this one, no, there's not any more coming. The next people that come are not going to invest the amount of money that ENEL has already invested to research this area, and to say no to this kind of industry is basically telling a lot of other people out there that industry is not open for business in Dickinson County. So I'm for the project, and I do feel for those who don't get any money out of this, but ultimately I may not get any either. We you never know that they might not, that they're going to put them up. So let's open Dickinson County for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Who was that, Janelle?
That was Dallas Baratheon.
Okay. Anybody else on the line?
Nobody else has their hand raised.
Let me cut you off there then.
Oh, I was just going to mention Nadine Lauer had been in touch with me and wanted to express where she stood on this particular issue. She said her husband, Keith, of course, he's passed away, and her, they were cattlemen farmers many years in this area. She's concerned about the future of our county, and in essence, listed several reasons, and then she sent this so we would have it on record.
Okay.
On why she was not in favor of the project and her concern as far as that project is concerned goes. So anyway, she just wanted to be sure, since she's unable to come up from McPherson, and I believe they still own their property here. She wanted to be on record for that.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? If not, yep, yes, sir.
Yeah, Phil Lorson, 1432 300 Avenue, Hope. I've heard a lot of comments up here, about how bad the wind farms are. They're building them two big generating plants down around Hutchinson. Natural gas. Not necessarily green. But if we don't build this wind farm, everybody knows, like it's been said already today, we're going to be needing more and more electricity as time goes on. Do the opponents of this wind farm have any ideas for alternatives without this wind farm? That's all I got to say. Thanks, Joe.
Anyone else? If not, I'll close other comments. I've already mentioned notices communication. We've already resolution for the bridge. Unfinished business, none. Consider purchase of the portable air compressor for the highway department. Janelle or Martin?
Commissioners.
Oh, he's not here.
Nope, he's not here. So we requested bids from companies for 49 horsepower diesel air compressor. This is used during the crack sealing portion of our work, and among other things, and what they're doing, and bridge work, and they're cleaning out the cracks of dust and sand and debris. The old one that we have has been here since the 1980s. In fact, if you know Mark Anguano, it was here before he was here, and Mark's old, so I can say that, so it's okay.
He's going to hear about this.
Yes, he is going to hear about it, but that's okay. So we received 5 bids actually, and 2 of them from Air Capital Equipment for 185 diesel portable Tier 4 27-gallon air compressor. The first one has an Isuzu engine, and that's $25,430. The next one from Air Capital Equipment is a Kubota engine, and it is $27,193. Patriot Contractors Equipment also bid a Kaiser diesel mobile air compressor, and that was $24,975. Arlington Equipment Company, which is a Tier 4 final compliant Dusen engine. Hope I'm saying that right. $25,590. And then White Star also bid a air compressor, a Chicago pneumatic engine, pneumatic 185 diesel, 22-gallon fuel tank air compressor at $31,200. The reason that staff is recommending the portable air compressor from Air Capital Equipment with the Isuzu, it's very similar to the one that we currently have. The business is located in Wichita, so maintenance or any issues that come up, it's readily available that we can get it down there. So we would recommend the Air Capital Equipment compressor at $25,430. Do you have any questions for me? And we would sell the old one on Purple Wave.
I'll make a motion to accept that bid.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? But these all,
They're all comparable to your one.
I look at them for. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And kind of for the minutes, that was $25,430.
Correct.
We've already selected voting delegates for the KAC meeting. We haven't approved the contract for the city of Solomon.
Commissioners, as you know, there are 2 communities in the county that the sheriff's office provides law enforcement services to in place of their own law enforcement or police department. And City of Solomon has entered into an agreement with the sheriff's department. This is a continuation of agreements that we've had since the 90s, quite frankly, with Solomon. So they did make a note that they would like to reduce the number of hours that they would be in the City of Solomon. It went down from 200 hours to 174 hours. But as Jerry had said in the study session, that if there is a crime that requires more time there, then obviously that would be something that they would take care of. They also have a addendum to the agreement that if they decide that they need more than 174 hours a month, then hours could be added to that. So we're just requesting that you approve this contract, and then we'll get it sent back to them and move forward for this. Will be for the 2025 year.
Any questions for Janelle?
I would go ahead and make the motion that we approve the contract for law enforcement with the city of Solomon.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Something we overlooked is the sales tax.
Correct.
So that's market.
Just sales tax collections did come back in for October, which was actually from sales in August. Fortunately, sales tax remains strong. We are up 5.7% for the year, which is around $80,000 compared to this time last year. The sales tax for the general fund right now has brought in $1,529,031.17. We also have had collections of $1,439,219.79 in the road and bridge sales tax. And the public safety sales tax that came in for the communication project that was just voted on earlier this year. We received our first collections in that in April. We brought in $81,442.79 in October, and we have brought in a total of $378,480.93 to go to the public safety sales tax so far this year.
Speaking of the public safety deal, what can cut us to the towers?
So we're working through the lease agreements for the two sites, and those have been identified. And the next thing will be for Motorola to come in and confirm the equipment that will go on them, the placement of the building where the brains of the communication system will be, yes, and the generator. So we still have some work ahead of us on that. The towers, it's still going to take 12 to 18 months before the towers will be complete. So
in the meantime, we'll still be working off the old system, or we?
Yes, we will work off the old system, but if we do receive the radios, which we're still probably a month out on that, then we'll go ahead and send them out to the entities, and they'll be able to use them and use the tower that's the KDOT tower that's located.
Okay, future meetings, agenda items, election audit, 2024, 9:30 in the commission chambers. Jeannie, you want to just explain that a little bit?
The audit?
Yes.
The state has us, they tell us which races that they want us to audit. We have 3 of them, usually a federal, state, and a county. And they have picked the U.S. District number 1 and or House of Representatives District 1 and the Senate District 24, and then the sheriff race. And what we do is it has to be 1% of what your the people that voted, no, 1% of the precincts that you have. That's right. 1% of the.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. And then we have a board that picks those races. We have to put into a bucket the precincts that need to be counted. And those, like I said,
I think it was Harrington, Ridge. And,
yeah. But anyway, then those are hand counted by a board of 3. We have to have a counting board come in and they hand count those. And what they're basically doing is checking to make sure that our totals match what the machine totals matched.
Okay.
So.
And the next 2 I'll ask you, think about the election canvas, which will be the next, the 14th.
The 14th.
Right.
And that is the provisional ballots that have been submitted. We have to have the Board of Commissioners, that's their job, to go review them. We have guidelines that we have to go through and reject them or accept them. There's different statutes that we have to, like if they've moved within the county or if the name changed. But moving within or address change is usually the biggest one that we have, or that they're not registered. So we just have to go by the state guidelines on whether we accept them or reject them, and you guys have to approve that.
21st of November, we will be having our regular meeting out at Strill Hall. It'll be we'll share the CUP for the potential wind farm at 11:15 at Strill Hall. Study session and regular session will be entered out there. There's nothing else to come before the board. I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Moving second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. We stand adjourned.